very dangerous thing. And Andrew also decided to steal one of the boba when I was not looking. We do not tolerate that around here.
In today's video, we're going to learn how to make milk tea without...
You know, they say imitation is the best form of flattery. Hello everyone. For all the returning Boba Gang members, thank you, appreciate it, love ya. And for those who are new to the channel, hello, my name is Brandon. I do a lot of videos on beverages, primarily around coffee, teas, bubble tea, milkshakes, with some ice cream roll ASMR sprinkle across that. In this video, we're going to go check out another YouTube content creator, Babish Culinary Universe. If you haven't watched any of his clips before, definitely check it out. I've been watching his cooking, I think about 12, 13 years now. I've really enjoyed a lot of the cuisines that he has created. And this specific one is under his other segment, Anime with Alvin, where his newest cook, I want to say Alvin's been with him for about maybe 3 years or so. I could be wrong with that. And with Anime with Alvin, basically what he does is that he takes cuisines that he sees in animes and brings it to life. A lot of them have been fantastic. So in this video, what we're going to check out will be the boba milk tea from The Great Pretender. I haven't got a chance to actually check out the anime. I've seen really good reviews on it. I just haven't had time to dive into it. I'm really catching up on a lot of other shows I haven't seen and a lot of movies. I still got to check out The Creator. I still got to finish the One Piece live action. I still have to finish the Yu Yu Hakusho live action. I know. The Yu Yu Hakusho Netflix live action is not as good as the anime, and I know a lot of people have been ripping into it, but I don't know, I just gotta watch it just to see. I wasn't too disappointed in the first episode, but that's going on a complete tangent. Let's go and check out the video now.
Now in the show, it's a pretty clear product placement that the boba is from a shop called The Alley, a popular milk tea franchise that sells many different types of boba drinks.
Just so you all know, I haven't actually been to The Alley before. I know it's a popular chain. However, we don't have any in my specific location. I believe they opened up their first shop sometime in 2019, 2020. And by that time, I'd just been working at my shop for so long, not getting much break. So, not traveling too much here. And so I'm maybe a little bit here and there, but I just never got a chance to venture out to check out The Alley. I've seen really great things. It's just I haven't got a chance to go check it out myself.
So I'm going to take this opportunity and show you guys just how fun making boba can be.
Alright, if you have never made boba from scratch, I recommend doing just one time. Once you do it one time, you'll probably never do it again. It is such a hassle and a pain in the butt to do, but give it a shot. It wouldn't kill you. I mean, you probably kill yourself at some point, but just try it.
I've actually made boba a few times from scratch, and one of the things I usually forget to do in the first batch is to cook the starch with the syrup in the first stage to a thicker mochi-like consistency. It kind of turns into this kind of hard, flaky mess. So unfortunately, we'll have to try again. We're still starting with the same amount.
See, we all make mistakes here and there. Alvin has been doing this for a while, and I believe he made boba a few times in the past. I don't know if he's saying this one or in the previous video, but he's made it a few times and he can still mess up. So, don't be too hard on yourself if you, give it a shot and it doesn't come anywhere close to what you expect it to be.
To a syrup, and again adding 100 grams of tapioca starch into the syrup before stirring and getting thick. Once it's super sticky, then...
This is a great way to show how tapioca pearls are made. A lot of customers ask me, oh, is it gluten because I have celiac disease, or I'm vegan, am I able to eat it? And to answer the questions, yes, you can eat it if you have celiac disease because there's no gluten in it, just a few starch here and there. And if you are vegan, as you kind of saw the ingredients, typically that's how people would make tapioca pearls. Now, of course, it changes up if it's, vegan, depending on what syrups they use to marinate down the road. So for us, we do brown sugar and honey. So depending on how you feel about honey, if you could either be on the vegan camp that says, no, you can't get it because it's a byproduct of an animal, or you could be like, hey, it's not really a byproduct per se. It's not like getting milk from a cow. It's more of the bees kind of pollinate because it's the natural thing that they do. So that way they're able to feed not only them, but they make up on the amount to where it will be wasted. And yeah, I know honey may not, pure honey does not actually age or anything, but still, it's just one of those kind of logical fallacies that I've heard. Either way, I like honey, and if you're vegan, you like honey, more power to you. Either way, tapioca pearls can be vegan depending on what kind of syrup you use.
In a large pot full with boiling water, I'm dumping in 3.5 ounces of black Assam loose leaf tea. Now,
Assam black tea is a type of black tea that you definitely find a lot of boba shops use. We personally had used it ourselves at the shop. However, like we kind of noticed that a lot of customers didn't like that strong kind of like Assam black tea taste, and we kind of switched over using Earl Grey. And we noticed that by doing so, our milk tea consumption, our sales for it, skyrocketed so much more. I believe when we first had the Assam black tea, I personally love it. It was kind of something that I was pretty much like kind of used to when I was younger. It was like very low sales. Not many people got it because I guess due to the taste of it, even if you put a lot of sugar in it, it just wasn't something that customers enjoyed. And honestly, the fact that you had to put that much sugar into the milk tea also didn't sit well with me, because when I opened the shop, I want to make sure that we provide just enough healthy items, because, you know, I'm not saying that I'm a nutritionist, nor am I really looking after, you know, people's, you know, well-being in that sense. It's just along the lines of, I know we consume a lot of sugars in America, so I just want to be able to cut back on it. And especially for folks who are diabetic, they can't have too much sugar in it. So make sure that the drinks I provide, especially the milk tea, that you could taste, it tastes great without having to add so much sugar into it. For Assam black tea, I still personally use that one. And I mix it with the Earl Grey just because I like the floral aroma that comes with it. And for me, that one just tastes, I think it tastes great. So in this video though, he used a lot of black tea. He used a lot of black tea into this. Although you recognize that he used a lot of black tea, which is an incredibly stupid amount that he used. I get it. It's like you're trying to get a concentrate so that way you're able to add more to it later on. So that way when you add the milk or whatever, it gives it more flavor and texture. However, when you make a huge concentrate, it makes it very strong. And when I say strong, it's like sometimes it's bitter, sometimes the acidity doesn't mix well. And with Assam black tea, you really shouldn't have it on the stove. I normally prefer having the black tea sit in there and just seep into the water. So he's able to fuse better. Now, when you boil the tea the way he's doing it, it'll make it way too strong, way too bitter. And the fact that he's using that much tea is going to make this batch very, very strong. It's like a Super Saiyan 2 level, right? If you just did just black tea and the amount of black tea that he did, and you let it seep for the appropriate amount of time, that's like already Super Saiyan, okay? It's already going to be really strong. It's going to be very powerful. It's going to be very bitter. It'll be fine, you know, when you do a concentrate. Just know that it is a very strong dosage. So he used a whole bag and he's boiling this, all right? Rolling boiling water, that's actually perfect. That's what we do. However, though, it's a rolling boil, the flame is still on, and he used a whole bag. So there's like definitely Super Saiyan 2. The only way that it could be like Saiyan 3, 4, or Saiyan God, depending on, you know, how you want to include GT and Super and all that, is like if you use like 2 bags and he did in a huge pot, like much bigger than this, for stuff like that, that's definitely ludicrous.
The cream and the sugar. Steeping this for about 3 to 5 minutes and immediately straining it so that the tea does not oversteep and become too bitter. Once this gets passed through a fine mesh sieve with all the liquid pressed out as much as we can, time to give it a taste.
Alright, so basically sieving through what he just did, that's fantastic. That's great. The only concern is that because he already boiled the heck out of the tea, he's basically running the pot of tea through it once more, so that actually recooks it again. I'm pretty sure he didn't let it cool off prior to this. I'm pretty sure he just, you know, strained it out. So doing that, that's actually probably the thing that'll take it to like Super Saiyan 3 now, or maybe not Super Saiyan 3, maybe like a Kaioken version of it. Anyways, by having this already strong concentrated black tea and pouring it through again, it's just going to recook all those tea leaves again. And it's just going to make it very strong, very potent. It's just super duper concentrated. Now that this is actually one of the techniques I use for the Thai tea, because right now I'll be taking a pot of black Thai tea. I'll be pouring it right through after I already cooked the heck out of it. So actually his method that he's doing is pretty similar to how I brew the Thai tea, where we cook the heck out of it, we stir it around, we just make sure it gets diffused as much as possible, then we run it through the tea sock, and that's how we make our Thai tea. So what he's doing will work perfect if you're doing Thai tea. However, with some black tea, that's a different story. Even if you did it with Earl Grey, I still wouldn't recommend it. So he's going to find out the hard way that, hey, this is way too powerful.
It is extremely bitter and does not taste good at all per Coffee Mate. After giving this a taste, it is still too concentrated and bitter on the.
Alright, so I understand it's supposed to be a tea concentrate because when you put the sugar in and when you put the milk in, it's supposed to be able to balance. However, though, in my experience, I feel that by doing that high concentrate that he has, he basically has to use more sugar and more milk that will basically mask it and water down the black tea. So that's something I would say probably not do, just because now you're just consuming so much sugar into it and you don't get a chance to taste the black tea as much.
Tea side. So that calls for one more cup of granulated sugar, followed by another 32-ounce bottle of Coffee Mate, followed by about a cup of whole milk.
I, for one, am not a fan of Coffee Mate. I don't know. It's like, for me, it's like, it feels like a fake, artificial, velvety texture. So I don't know. It doesn't appeal to my palate taste. And I personally would just skip that one and just, move on, just use milk because you already have sugar in it. Which, by the way, I'm not sure if this Coffee Mate was 0-gram sugar or, like light on the sugar, because he already did a lot of sugar in there and he threw in the Coffee Mate. So if you're trying to make the milk tea, I don't know, I personally will go lighter on it.
Because it was going to be the weekend and we're going to waste it. I don't like wasting, so I'm going to throw milk in there too.
I love that. I don't like making waste either. I try to use as much of everything as I possibly can, both at the shop and at home, and any tools and equipment I have. Now then, as you kind of see in this video, he realized that he kind of made a mistake with the black tea, and he just continuously adding more sugar, more Coffee Mate, and he also had to add the whole milk. The whole milk one, it makes sense because it was going to be expiring soon, so that's perfectly fine. But the amount of sugar that he added, plus the amount of Coffee Mate, I'm not sure if he poured the rest of that Coffee Mate bottle, I believe that was the second one, into it, but that's just a lot of sugar and now probably a lot of calories at the same time. And one thing that he also recognized was that the tea concentrate was very strong. So just take my word, probably not do the same method that he did making the black tea.
Now you might be thinking, man, that does not look like it's good for you. But we don't always do things because they're good for us. We do things because they feel good. Now,
you can definitely do stuff that feels good for you and is actually good for you without going to like a sugar comatose or whatever. Since I consume a lot of bubble tea, a lot of teas, a lot of coffee, some soda and stuff here and there. Yeah, they're good for me, but it's always in moderation. Make sure I'm not overdoing it. Also, I am drinking a lot of water. You have to stay hydrated with water. As much teas and coffees I drink, I try to make sure I double the amount of water just to make sure my water intake is pretty high and I stay hydrated, especially with a lot of physical activities I do. Not only with like running shop, but do a lot of DIY projects on the side and, of course, my fitness journey. So yeah. So don't take this as an excuse to drink a whole lot of milk tea. Make sure you also drink water, okay?
bench scraper individually into little gnocchi-like pieces. Kind of think of this as a sweet gnocchi, except there's a lot of sugar and it's not potato. And to make the pearls, we're individually rolling each and every little gnocchi ball into a tapioca pearl.
Oh my god. Oh my god. This is the one thing I hate the most about it is like actually rolling it. I'm like, ugh. It's so time consuming. I could get over making the dough. I get over having to cool it off. I get over having to cut it and then having to cut it into small individual pieces. But to roll every single ball, oh my god, especially the amount of tapioca pearls that we cook on a regular basis. Oh my god. I love boba, okay? But I don't love it enough for me to have to roll literally 1,000 per day, okay? I'm not doing that. All right, that's way too much.
What color that is. Now comes the really fun part. Assembly the
Those tapioca pearls are huge. I mean, I know that was like kind of like a craze for a while, but I don't know. I just feel like they're so huge that he's probably gonna have a hard time drinking it through a straw. As far as cooking time though, I'm not sure if that was like cooked long enough. So I don't know. We'll see whether or not it gets hard, or like, you know, it's like if the inside was like still hard or a little chewy, or not the good chewy, but like, you know, kind of like the uncooked kind of chewy, or if there's powder in it.
2 to 3 minutes back into the ice they go, and now we.
So the ice bath is a nice method if you have like a lot of boba you want to go through and cool it. Personally, I don't really like doing that one because you also run the risk of the outside just being flash cold, but the inside actually being really warm. So it's like a weird texture where it's like the outside will be like rock hard, but the inside is still like chewy. So I don't know. For me, I just don't really like that kind of texture when it comes to tapioca per se. If it was something else like a mochi, that would make sense. But even then, the outside of most mochi, like the candy one, not the ice cream, is still gonna be like soft. Okay. So when you do a flash freeze, like what he's doing currently, it will just make the outside really hard. So yeah, so you could definitely go down this route. Just make sure you don't leave the tapioca pearls in there too long.
Single one of our little hand-rolled cooked boba pearls, drained from their previous bath, stirred and slowly cooked until they've darkened and gotten.
So for this one, I think that's probably reasonable to do. For those that are doing it at home, I would say, you know, maybe you could just like, after you, cool off the boba, you could just marinate into the sauce and just like swirl it around and let it like really seep in there. Just let it soak in there for a few minutes, maybe like, 5 minutes or so. I mean, 2 minutes should be more than enough depending on the texture of the boba.
This is a pretty standard way of making it. I definitely did spill a little bit there.
All right, since Alvin's doing this as a YouTube video, of course he has to leave it in the middle of the frame because that's how they kind of like do a lot of their styles. But if you're doing it at home, you can't just put the cup over the thing and just pour on top. Of course, that might mess up the kind of like style that they typically go for. I think they could have, but to each their own. If Alvin wants to struggle, just let him struggle.
Creating a curtain of black sugar, so to speak, from which our liquid will pour out delicately.
So for the boba being hot, he took it directly off the stove. If you go to other places, they would have the boba already cooled off. Now then, that doesn't mean it's cold and it doesn't mean it's cool. It'll just be kind of like a little warm or so. So that way the boba is not like burning hot as you're trying to drink it and have it sucked in. Now then, the other thing I forgot to mention earlier was during the milk tea base that he was making, he added more water to the tea to dilute it. I don't really recommend adding more water just because since you're diluting it, you're actually changing the flavor of the drink as well. So because he added more water, since he's creating more volume, it takes away a lot of the flavor. Yeah, it helps remove a lot of the bitter black tea taste that he had, that he previously made. But if you made it correctly in the first place, by adding more water, just continuously diluting, you're not going to get that tea taste. Now then, on top of that, he also put the ice on top of hot boba and poured the drink on top. So now the milk tea, this one's going to be even more diluted than the previous way. So yeah, if he had just like made like the right black tea milk tea batch the first time around by not, overdoing it all, then the tea would be fine. And, then I'll have to be like, oh yeah, I'll be a little bit more worried for the ice melting. But in this very specific instance, with the ice melting, it'll continuously dilute the milk tea, but that probably will be a good thing for them. But yeah, one quick tip, I would definitely throw the milk tea into the fridge so that way it's nice and cool. So that way, since the boba is hot and he's putting ice, it'll just kind of like cool off the boba even more without having to have the ice melt and diluting the drink.
Delicately from. Put in a good handful of ice cubes, and this one gets topped off with just good old-fashioned whole milk.
I always wonder about this one. It's basically called brown sugar milk tea, but there's no tea in it. Why do we have to call it brown sugar milk tea? I know it sounds weird, but I've been calling it brown sugar milk at the shop because there's no tea in it. So it's just kind of weird to say brown sugar milk tea. Now, I for one actually do add, for my personal drink, I do add the black tea in it. So basically it's a milk tea with brown sugar around the side. I mean, go figure. But I don't know, I think it's weird when shops call it brown sugar milk tea.
That's it, nothing else. The third cup is similar to the second cup, where it's filled with boba and just a good amount of whole milk, except the ice goes in last, which actually does make...
I just realized something. He made a huge batch of milk tea, but he only served it in 1 cup. He only served it in 1 cup. So now it's making me wonder, like, why did you make a huge batch to begin with? Like, you had a huge amount. I thought you were going to do a few of them, but you only did it for 1 cup. Oh my God, that's so much work
to do if I ever buy this. I like to go to a nearby Starbucks, grab a double espresso shot, and pour that in here.
So I love throwing coffee into my drinks as well. I wish he threw it into his milk tea one, because then that would make a Hong Kong drink called Yu Yang, and I think the Mandarin way is Yu Yang something. I can't remember, but basically it's a black tea, coffee, milk mixture. There's a wide variety of how you can make this drink. I'll touch on that in one brief moment.
I present to you 3 versions of boba milk tea from The Great Pretender. Black sugar boba milk tea on the left, black sugar boba milk in the middle, and a black sugar boba latte.
Alright, so he threw the coffee into the milk. Like the one that's like just basically pure milk and brown sugar. That one to me is totally cool. I like that. For me, getting a shot of espresso is fantastic in these type of drinks. If you have a mocha pod, you could also get a similar type of experience, but it's not the same as when you get espresso. So yeah, not Nespresso. I mean, they're okay and all, but like a true espresso shot. Amazing. All right, so back to the other thing I was talking about real quick. So as I was alluding to earlier, in Hong Kong, there's a drink that's basically coffee, black tea, and milk. With the different variations, you can do like espresso type of coffee. That's not too common. Like a lot of the ones that I would see is using maybe instant coffee or, like drip coffee, something like that. But, if you get a chance to do espresso, totally cool. And mixing with black tea. For that one, typically it's Assam black tea. You'll find some places that may use Earl Grey. And of course, proprietary blends. And of course, the last one will be milk. And of course, there's sugar. So some places use whole milk, skim milk, evaporated milk. Some people use like condensed and evaporated. Some people just use condensed. I personally like mixing it kind of like the Hong Kong style with like a little bit of the Vietnamese style. So I personally use coffee, of course, from like maybe a mocha pot or maybe the traditional Vietnamese drip, the phim, the thing that we call it, the phim, using that one and using some black tea and of course condensed milk and some whole milk just so that way there's a little bit more volume. So that's how I like to make mine. Now that I am going to be getting espresso maker, so I'm thinking that it's going to be really good, but we'll see how that comes out. And I'm also trying a new technique where I get a mocha pot and in the base of it, I'll have, instead of water, I'll actually pour a brewed version of a black tea. No tea leaves, it's just, I already brewed it separately and I put that tea base in there and have it go through the filter into the mocha pot. So that way I get, a mixture of black tea and coffee without any added water. So that one has been pretty interesting. I've been experimenting that one and I've been enjoying it. So yeah.
So to speak. Oh, looks like he got a fat boba stuck in his straw. Either the straw is too small or one of us rolled a pearl that is too large.
I guess I kind of called it earlier, but with the tapioca pearls being as huge as they are, they just kind of struggled, slurping them. So the very first one, yeah, that was definitely huge. And it looked like Alvin was also struggling a little bit with the ones that he had. But I mean, I think it looks great still. So I really enjoyed it. I thought that was fantastic, wholesome. You get to see how making tapioca pearls is, the entire process of it, and of course, how to make milk tea, or I guess just pouring milk and coffee into another one. But yeah, so I definitely say go give it a shot. It's a lot of fun. Key takeaway I just want to tap on there real quick. When you make the milk tea, just experiment. Try different styles. Of course, don't go overboard like what Alvin did. I'm not exactly sure what they did with the rest of the milk tea. I don't know if they just fridged it and then saved it for another day, or if they poured it out, because as they said, it was really strong. It's probably a lot of sugar in there too. And I wonder if that's the reason why they didn't use it for the other 2 cups. I'm not sure if that was planned or if they were kind of like along the way, they were like, ooh, this milk tea is like way too much. So yeah, and they just like switch gears. Like, okay, we'll do brown sugar milk, and then we'll do, this, kind of like the latte. So yeah, but I hope you all enjoy it. Let me know, would you all try this? Would you make tapioca yourself? Or would you want to, just buy a packet and then just make the drink itself? I, for one, find it more enjoyable to make the beverage. And the tapioca pearls, cooking them is perfectly fine. I just don't think I want to hand roll them every single time. But yeah, have you ever hand rolled it? Please let me know down below, all right? Y'all be fabulous, all right? Bye.